Good morning, Zach. Thank you for taking some time out and getting involved in our NI Business Podcast. Do you want to go ahead, introduce yourself, and tell us all a bit about what you do?
Yeah, I'm Zach Willis, co-founder of Kaboom Post-Production in Belfast. So we're a full-service post-production company, and what that essentially means is we create the edits and that process of TV and film. So when people have gone out, they've filmed all their footage, and they bring us all their footage, and we then edit it all together. So we go through that edit process, and then we do all the nice stuff at the back end of the create, where we can make it all look good, sound good, record voiceovers, all of that side of things, and make it ready so it's broadcast ready to go on to TV, whether that's BBC, ITV, Channel 4, or some of the features, for cinema. So yeah, we're basically involved in the back end of the film industry, where we sit in dark rooms, as you can kind of see, for long periods of time, and make everything look good. The hard work's been a lot of the hard work was done on set, and we basically make it broadcastable then at the end.
And that sounds cool. I'm intrigued. Does it have to be a dark room? Does that help, or is that just par for the course?
Yeah, it's well, a lot of our rooms are treated.
Yeah.
Whether it's a sound room, they're treated for sound insulation, and but then we have color grading suites, so we're that are all treated, so we can what we see on our monitors is exactly what we should be looking at. We're not
Yeah.
tainted by the sun, that may go
Sure.
in and out of a cloud, especially here. It could be bright one minute and absolutely raining down the next minute.
Of course.
So we all our rooms are a controlled environment effectively. So
Cool.
we hear and see, everything to its best, warts and all. And then we know where to go with it. So by the time you watch it on TV, it's absolutely perfect. So yeah, so it means a lot of dark rooms. For the edit suites themselves aren't so bad. The edit suites where the
Sure.
editors sit, because they're working off a sort of low res proxy file. So they get windows, they get to see the
Okay.
daylight. But once it comes into this area, of all the finishing, yeah, they're generally, we're kept in the dark.
So, how do you find a customer? Who would be your ideal customer? Is it a production company, or what? Who do you work with?
Yeah, so we work across, across a wide range of customers. Some of them are, small indie productions, right up to large corporations such as BBC and ITV. So we're lucky that we get to, work across a very wide range.
Yeah.
And then we do some commercials. Sometimes we work directly with clients on, with commercials, or online videos and things like that. So yeah, we get because we do a lot of like even radio commercials. So we have a lot of direct customers. Then we have
Yeah.
ones that we're dealing through production companies. So they may have been commissioned by the BBC, and then they bring that to us, for all the editing, or sometimes that's working directly with the broadcasters. So yeah, we're lucky we get a wide range, and then we get some international projects that we work on as well, that come to
Cool.
us, which we're starting to see more of with technology moving forward, and different remote working scenarios and things like that. So that's really sort of opening up our reach, which is really good.
Yeah, really cool. And what is it that sets you guys apart? Like, why does ITV, for example, why do they not do what you do in house? Why do they come to you?
I guess it's well, a lot of those the broadcaster have a lot of programs to make, so it'd be very difficult for them to have all those expertise in house,
Okay.
or have the resource in house. The number of rooms they would need hundreds of
Yeah.
edit suites, but also then they're dealing with production companies, and it's up to them, the production company, to go to go with who they want. And
Okay.
so it's generally then, and what's, it's kind of a small, it's a small industry, but a big industry.
Yes.
And a lot of it's built on relationships, and built
Okay.
on, experience of the people that we have. And
Sure.
it's in Northern Ireland, although the industry's booming in Northern Ireland at the moment, and has been since, the sort of Game of Thrones era. uh, you know, there's a small number of post-production facilities in Northern
Yeah.
Ireland. So that keeps us busy, but it's all about, it's certain about, relationships and how that kind of gets manifested through, the whole production.
Yeah, very cool. So, um, what I mean, you obviously business for yourself, and it's, as you say, small industry but a big industry, and it sounds like it's probably fairly high pressure, and you have to perform to a very high standard. I mean, what would you say has been your biggest learning since you took the leap into owning a business?
It's yeah, like so the biggest learning curve really, like where I come from, um, is an engineering background. So I come from engineering, and then moved into account management, and then eventually, as running a business, and through that process, you know, and especially in this industry, there's a lot of peaks and troughs.
Mm,
In this industry, in the industries I was in before, where it was maybe, in engineering or IT, based, you get a lot of service contracts, you get a lot of, sort of that reoccurring, which, contract business that you can, you're sort of know for
yes.
the next X amount of years, you maybe sign a couple of year deal or a
Yeah.
12-month deal. This industry, you're basically going from job to job.
Yeah. Project to
So
project.
yeah, and although we have a lot of reoccurring customers that we deal with over the years, but there's no guarantee that they'll get a commission. There's no guarantee that will come to us. So
Sure.
it's learning to adapt, and as a business,
Right.
how we, and that's the biggest thing, where transitioning from what I'd done before this, where you were sort of, not guaranteed work, but you could see a lot further down the line.
Yes.
Now
Yes.
we've got to work that wee bit harder to make sure we can see those next 12 months, 18 months,
Sure.
and where the industry comes from. So that's the biggest kind of learning curve of moving into to running it, running this kind of business, where you're not guaranteed the next job.
Sure. Yeah,
So
yeah.
you got
So
to work
as
hard
you
for
say,
it.
can't see into the future as far. And what about running a team then, or managing a team? Has there been much learning around that?
Yeah, like it's I've always been working as a team, for like in engineering and IT, and you're always dealing with that. I always see myself as a people person, and that was something I
Sure.
learned from my predecessors, who might have been my boss, account managers and directors. And to me, I'm quite, I like to get on with a lot of people, and that's what I find is the biggest. Well, I find that slightly easier,
Yeah.
because I'm a people person, so I
Sure.
like to, you know. Work very well as part of a team and manage a team. So
Yeah.
it
So
wasn't just
you've
as
taken that maybe more easily than looking
yeah,
further into the future.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and what about so that's learning as a business owner. What have you had to learn the hard way yourself? Would you say?
Well, you know, it's, I guess, again, it's that thing of, you're running a business, you've got many things to juggle on a daily basis, and we're now we're at a stage, the business has grown from when it started, as one or two people, that we've got, 8, 9 employees, we've got,
Yeah.
all of the pressures of that. So you're trying
Yes.
to always balance, between running a business and working in the business.
Yes.
And that's an area that I think in most small to medium-sized businesses always a struggle,
Yes.
to try and balance that time, between working in it, being, over, all the areas of the business, ensuring the business coming in. So you're wearing multiple hats,
Yeah.
and in busy periods and busy times, it's trying not to let the plates drop them, and in some cases they do, and
Sure.
but you have to be resilient enough to bounce back and keep going. So those are the things on a personal level, how running a small business, that's always, I find, can be challenging at times, when
Yeah,
things,
no, you got to lean on that resilience, like you say, and
yeah,
not
yeah,
compound mistake, just build, just bounce back. So what?
but
So
bounce back
so
and yeah.
things. It sounds like things are going well for you guys. So what do you think the next 5 years look like for Kaboom, and what would you say are the challenges?
Um, I I think the industry, we've gone through a big reset in the industry,
Okay.
over the last sort of 2 3 years. So obviously COVID hit. COVID didn't affect us as much in the early stages of COVID, because of just we're at the back end. So there was a lot of stuff filmed
Yeah,
running up to COVID. Uh, our challenge ran into the back end of COVID. Then there was actor strikes, in America, which had a ripple effect down through,
sure.
and then there was, and broadcasters and stuff got nervous. So, there was challenging times in there, but now we're seeing the flip side of that, and now we're seeing a big buoyancy in the industry, especially here in Northern Ireland. I think some of the other territories across the UK and further afield are still in a wee bit of a recovery mode, where I think
Sure.
we've come out the back end of that. So, I think the next 5 years, it's there's many things that will get thrown at us, that we can look to build on, and especially as I sort of highlighted, that remote working, and
Mm,
workflows and how workflows have changed. We recently moved facilities, to a new building, and
sure.
we downscaled slightly our real estate, in
Okay.
terms of physicals, but we've upped our technology and how we can work. So,
Yes.
and that means we're putting more projects through the building with editors who are based across the UK and Ireland, not
Sure.
necessarily in Belfast. And I
Yeah.
think the next 5 years is how we build on that.
Yeah.
With running. We done a big project in South Africa,
Okay.
away, about a year and a half ago, and everything was all done remotely. And that kind of set a good benchmark. We could deliver a huge big series, to South
Yes.
African TV from Belfast, and I think that's where the industry's starting to change. The industry's
Yeah.
changing into a more, you can be a more global company, but not
Yeah.
necessarily have offices, all
Yes.
over the globe. So, I think that's what we look to now in the next sort of 5 years, is how we can, capitalize on that. And coming from an IT sort of background, I always like to try and be at the forefront of that,
Yeah,
to
it
try and
sounds. I get a
build.
sense. You talked about like the Game of Thrones era, which it sounds like the whole industry you're in was pinned to that one show, whereas it sounds more like much more diversified in Northern Ireland now, different shows, and maybe you can even have a global reach.
Yeah, that's it. There is, Game of Thrones put Northern Ireland on the map. And
Sure.
it was, one of the most successful shows, globally.
Yeah.
But that has now, and with what Northern Ireland Screen are doing, we've got new studios in Belfast, the new Belfast, studios down at the harbour. They built the next, the biggest virtual stage,
Right. Okay.
with that technology that's coming in. So, yeah, people seen Northern Ireland. Oh, they can. They're a small country, but actually they've
Yeah.
got a huge impact.
Yeah.
Which is great. So that
Yeah.
opens up lots and lots of doors.
Yeah.
Especially as now as technology has moved forward. So it is like where Northern Ireland does punch a little bit above its weight.
Yeah.
But
I
we
love to
deliver.
see. I love to see that. There's so many industries and so many companies in Northern Ireland playing on a global stage, which is awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, that's it, and it does, like we've got, big shows now that, we work on, a lot of entertainment shows as well. Like we do, the iconic Mastermind is all filmed in Belfast.
Okay. Yeah.
We
Right.
we
Okay.
do all the editing, all the post-production, on Mastermind.
Yeah.
People think that might have been done in, London or Manchester.
Yeah.
That's all done here in Belfast. So that's been for the last sort of 5 or 6 years now. And
Right.
that's
Okay.
that's been housed the year. We're seeing lots of big dramas, the successes of, Blue Lights and different shows like that. People
Yeah.
now see Northern Ireland as a serious contender,
Sure.
for the TV industry, and we've great crews and great people.
So look, I always like to finish in this question. If you could go back in time and speak to an 18-year-old Zach, what piece of advice would you give him?
Eh, yeah, I think, you have to just go with what you believe in. And like my path has taken me many routes. It's very hard to look back and go, oh, that's what I was going to do. And I think you do
Sure.
what you believe in. And I think you go where your heart is and what you feel is right for you. And sometimes that may be you may just hit a roadblock, but
Mm.
you can't not try something. I think everyone should try, give something a go.
Yeah.
So going back, speaking to anyone is, if you believe in it, do it. Don't
Yeah.
be restricted by, anything else. If you firmly believe in something, then you should go forward with it and just see. You never know where it could, end up.
Yeah. Listen, I really appreciate you coming on today and sharing your story. And as I say, I love to see, Northern Irish companies playing on a global stage. So, I hope that continues for you guys and continues to grow over the next 5 years. But look, thank you again for getting involved today.
No problem at all. Thank you very much.